Hello, everybody, and welcome to my review of the Andre the Giant documentary brought to you by HBO Sports. It literally just concluded about 10 minutes ago, and I'm here to give you guys my thoughts on the documentary. Now, for one, I really love documentaries, especially when it's on figures, well, big figures in the world, and Andre the Giant being the biggest wrestler of all time, both literally and figuratively. I think this would be appropriate. I've heard about this documentary now for about 5 months, and I've been waiting for this. And honestly, it was well worth the wait, especially if you are very into wrestling history. The man grew up in France, and he was very normal up until a certain age, to around, I believe they said around 11, 12. That he started, growing faster and at a more rapid rate. He didn't know what was wrong with him. Gigantic doctors back then, especially out in that country, probably weren't really the greatest at knowing diseases and stuff like that. He just grew, and of course, he said he used to play soccer, rugby. How he got into wrestling was very interesting. He would just go to the gym where the wrestlers would go, and he would just work out with them, train with them. And then one point, one of their guys got hurt. They asked him to fill in. He said he had no idea how to wrestle. He said, what? You'll do fine. You're big enough. Forget it. And, he became a star. Originally, his name, this I did not know, was called the Giant Fairy, which was the Giant Fairy. Now, that came from a lore that was told in France about this giant guy named the Giant Fairy, who was a lumberjack. And that was kind of like his character. So when he came to around America and stuff like that, they didn't want to call him that. So somebody asked him, hey, what was his first name? Andre. So all right, we'll call him Andre the Giant. I did not know that's how he got, his actual ring name. I knew his real name was Andre. I kind of just guessed that was always his ring name. But, he would just go around, the territories back then and just wrestle. Wouldn't stay there too long. He never really won championships because he never lost. Because if he won a championship, that championship was staying on him for a very long time. He was known to put guys over in a way, like not having them win, but letting the big star of the territory get a couple good shots and take some long punches in. You know what I mean? And then eventually he wrestled guys like Randy Savage, and Randy Savage. This stuck out to me in the thing. He goes, "Ooh, big brother," or something like that. What do you want to do in the match? And he looked at him and screamed at him, "No baby oil." I guess he didn't like baby oil on guys, and Randy Savage, part of that generation of guys who used to put a lot of baby oil on them, which was very funny. And he just dominated him. And then the Iron Sheik would go up to him and ask him stuff, and Andre saw that as a sign of disrespect, and he just took him down. Andre is this big, polarizing guy. I'd be terrified to even just say hi to him. If I was wrestling a match with him, I'd just, go in the ring and just hope to God he doesn't kill me. Because there were some stories saying that he would just hurt people if you, rubbed them the wrong way. Like this one guy, Big John Studd, who was another very big athlete. He was like 6'10", 400 pounds. He started copying Andre, like going over the top rope. That was what Andre did. Back then, if you stole even a move, a little wave or a taunt that another wrestler did, that was a sign of disrespect, and Andre didn't take that lightly. So he kind of showed him, like, all right, you want to play games? Boom, 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 beat the hell out of you. Now, this was a time like the 70s where before Andre really got sick. Because, he had disease. He was born with gigantism. I can't think of the actual name. Something with A. Actromentophy, I believe. I'm sorry. I can't remember it. And, he could actually move decently for a big guy. He wasn't doing backflips and handstands. But, for the time, for what was expected of wrestlers to do, he did okay. Of course, being a very big athlete, he was put into a lot of things. I did not know he was in the movie The $6 Million Man as a Sasquatch. That was pretty cool. He tried out for the Washington Redskins, which was a publicity thing, but that's still kind of cool. He was in beer commercials. He was on talk shows and all this crazy stuff. And, of course, he was in the movie The Princess Bride, which around a time where his health was failing, and it was upsetting to know that a lot of things he couldn't do. This is when his health was failing pretty bad. He had hurt his ankle at one point. This was like when he was in his 30s, late 20s, early 30s, I believe. Most likely 30s. And he was getting hurt. There was one story where the lead role, the woman, I cannot think of her name. I'm really sorry. They didn't trust him holding her by himself because he physically couldn't. He just physically couldn't. So he had to. They had to have guide wires on him, on her. So like he was literally holding the weight when he caught her. That I didn't know. What I also didn't know is he was known for drinking a lot. He would drink 6 to 7 bottles of wine. So on a case of wine a day when he wrestled. Easily 120 something beers. There was just one time when he was on the movie set where he drank a lot, that he was so drunk that literally they had to get wires to hold him up and plop him down onto like this horse that they had a sign on that he had to sit on. But it's not like the horse couldn't hold his weight. The horse could have held his weight, but it's just that he was too drunk to do it on his own. And the director says he was like here waving hi boss, and it was just funny. That was funny. I found that funny. But yeah, like I said, his health deteriorated. He started getting hurt more and more. He had that back surgery at one point, and Vince McMahon kind of said, "You know what? Have the surgery and prolong your career." He's like, "Okay." He had the surgery and he came back. Famously on Piper's Pit. Aligning himself with the late great Bobby Heenan, going up against Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan talking about how he was his idol and stuff like that. Pointing at him, sticking him in the chest, ripping off his cross and shirt, and Hulk Hogan goes crying, doing his thing. Now, Hulk Hogan did not know if Andre would put him over, because Andre would just do what Andre wanted. Andre always won, and this is kind of going to be like kind of his last match. And he went on to go the night before, and he was writing stuff down like, this is what I want to happen in a match, this, that. And Hulk Hogan kind of let Andre lead the match in a way to where what was ever comfortable to him, because he was doing very bad. Actually, it was noted in his singlet that he was wearing in that match, he had a back brace on because his back was like destroying him. His neck, back, and knees were just giving out on him due to his age and his weight. His body was still growing, but his organs were failing, and his bones couldn't keep up either. So, they do the match, and so there are things that Andre used to be able to do. Like there was one thing where Andre would bear hug you, pick you up, and like shake you around. He couldn't even like stand up straight when he did with Hulk Hogan. He didn't take many bumps in that match, and I watched that the WrestleMania III match not too long ago, like about a month ago, and I remember watching it a little bit. And there were some spots that he literally called where, like, after when Hulk Hogan got him down on the floor, when he got back up, Andre screamed "Slam," and Hulk Hogan's looking at him like, "What?" He's like, "All right." The famous body slam, and then right when he hit the mat, he screams "leg drop," and Hogan went for the leg drop, and he was like, "Is he gonna kick out?" He didn't know if he was gonna win or not. And Andre, did the deed and let Hogan win. And at that point, he was miserable. Still loved wrestling. He still wanted to wrestle, but he physically couldn't. It was noted that this man knew he was not going to live long, and knew that he was not going to be alive. But he came back and he did matches, and he looked miserable. He looked in pain. Unfortunately, he stopped because he needed to, and he would come out in crutches as a guest for, I think, one match I remember from watching it. I think it was on the video game too, where he had to come out in crutches, and he was accompanied with the Bushwhackers. And I doubt he really wanted that. He would do tag matches to take the load off and have other guys do a lot of the work, and he would come in, do 1 or 2 chops, and then go back. Unfortunately, around, I think, 1994, 93, His dad was getting sick, so he flew back to France to go visit his dad, and he passed away. Stayed out there for the funeral, and there are pictures of him. There's video in this movie that I don't think has ever really been seen. At least I have never seen it. And there's some pictures from his family and his brother. Also, another thing before I continue on, he had a daughter, which I did not know. I didn't know he had any children, so that's interesting to know. But he was staying out there, and from the pictures, his handler, Tom White, that's the guy who kind of wrangled him around, make sure he was okay, drive him around, do stuff like that. A lot of celebrities and a lot of wrestlers and superstars have that type of person. He looked like he was depressed. He looked sick, looked really pale. Unfortunately, one day when he was in France at a hotel, they were trying to call him around 3 p.m. He didn't answer, so they went up to his room, started knocking on the door. They broke down the door, and unfortunately, he passed away in his sleep from a heart attack in France. Very upsetting ending to somebody. He died alone, and I remember watching the guy at the end, Tom White, his handler, saying how he wished he could have been there, how he shouldn't deserve to die alone in a hotel room. And he said there's no tears in wrestling. So, very sad ending for that man. And, he's known as a giant. He's known as just a giant, not only in the wrestling industry, but in sports in general. And in the world. He was one of the most popular guys in the world. But he was also very sensitive, too, at the same time. He was didn't like the fact that people stared at him. One thing he said was, I wish I could be a normal man for one day a week, so I can go walk around like everyone else, so I can go to the store, go to a bar, go to the movies, so I don't be noticed, I don't get stared at. People stare, laugh, and point at me. It gets me upset. I cry. You wouldn't expect this man to cry. You wouldn't expect this man to even know the word, upset. But, he was a human just like everyone else. Another thing that he had in his life was a ranch, where in that small town where his ranch was, which was right near Charlotte, North Carolina, he could go out and nobody would bother him, which was amazing. I think people back then, especially in those small little towns and near the South, people had more respect for people, would not point and stare and laugh. It was a different value that people had back then. Nowadays, it just doesn't really exist. If he was out nowadays, people would be taking videos of him constantly. There'd be rumors on the internet constantly. It's just upsetting how this man lived. And I feel for him. I feel bad. Like, it sucks. The video for this, the movie, was beautifully shot. It was very cool. And the people that they got for this was very, very knowledgeable. They had Billy Crystal and the director of Princess Bride, Ron something. I can't think of the name. Please, somebody can help me, put in the comments down below. They had wrestlers. They had Hulk Hogan, Pat Patterson, Ric Flair, Vince McMahon, Mean Gene Okerlund. They had all these guys on there who were probably the last who remember him. The last guy still alive from that era who really knew and worked with him that much. So that's kind of cool. Overall, I think this documentary was very good. I'd love to see more like this, especially around more wrestlers, if they are going to make more. I know Andre the Giant is a special case, but I would love to see more of these done by HBO. I think their team is great. I know they did one years ago about, I think, Muhammad Ali, which was really good. So, anyway, my score for this video is a 10 out of 10. The score for this documentary is a 10 out of 10. I think it's beautifully done. I think it's worth a watch. It's worth a research to look it up. I'm pretty sure it's going to be on HBO On Demand. So when it is, I suggest you guys watch it. Anyway, guys, that has been my review on the Andre the Giant documentary done by HBO. I hope you guys enjoyed it. What other documentaries on famous wrestlers and or anybody would you like me to do next? I'm always willing to have suggestions. Just put them down in the comment section below. If you would like to follow me on my Instagram and my Twitter, it'll be down in the description below. Guys, this has been Brandon Simeone, and I will talk to you guys later.